I thought my son hated me. For 2 years I believed my only child despised the sight of me. And then, on a gray February morning, I found the letter on my kitchen table and realized the cruelest words he ever spoke were the greatest act of love. My name is Brianna, and I'm 48 years old. I've been a high school art teacher for over 20 years, the kind who keeps student drawings pinned on my classroom walls long after they've graduated. I raised my son Tyler alone from the time he was 3, after his father walked out on us without a backward glance. It was just the two of us against the world, and honestly, that was enough, more than enough. I remember the early years so vividly, the happy chaos of them. Our tiny 2-bedroom house with the blue shutters had a backyard just big enough for a swing set and a small vegetable garden. On summer evenings, we'd chase fireflies in mason jars, Tyler's laughter echoing through the neighborhood. I taught him to ride his bike on that cracked driveway, running behind him with my hands barely touching the seat, until one day he was flying on his own, shouting, "Look, Mom, no hands." We had our traditions: Sunday morning pancakes with chocolate chips arranged into smiley faces, 4th of July sparklers on the front lawn, Tyler writing his name in the air with light, Thanksgiving dinners where it was just us two, but I'd cook a full turkey anyway 'cause he loved the leftovers. We'd sit at our small kitchen table and he'd tell me about his dreams, becoming a musician maybe, or a video game designer. His eyes would light up and I'd think to myself that I was the luckiest mother in the world. When Tyler was little, we'd spend hours at that same kitchen table with finger paints and construction paper. He wasn't naturally gifted at art, not like some of my students, but he had enthusiasm. He'd create these wild, colorful monsters and spaceships, and I'd frame them like they belonged in a museum. Our walls were covered with his creations. Every crayon drawing, every watercolor experiment, I kept them all. I worked hard to give him what I could. Teaching doesn't pay much, especially at a public high school, but I picked up summer school positions every year. I tutored students after hours. I sold some of my own paintings at local art fairs on weekends. Every extra dollar went into Tyler's college fund. I wanted him to have opportunities I never had. I wanted him to chase those dreams without the weight of student debt crushing him. The sacrifices never felt like sacrifices. When I couldn't afford to replace my 15-year-old car, it didn't matter because Tyler had new sneakers for basketball tryouts. When I ate ramen noodles for dinner so he could have proper meals, it felt right. That's what mothers do. We pour ourselves into our children and call it love. Tyler was always a good kid, respectful, kind, a little quiet but thoughtful. He'd leave me notes on the fridge, "Thanks for everything, Mom," or "You're the best." On Mother's Day, he'd make me breakfast in bed, usually burnt toast and scrambled eggs that were somehow both runny and overcooked. But I'd eat every bite and tell him it was perfect. His junior year of high school, he worked so hard on his college applications. I remember sitting with him at the kitchen table, helping him brainstorm essay topics. He was nervous about getting in anywhere good, worried about the cost. I held his hand and promised him we'd figure it out together. And when that acceptance letter came from State University, we both cried. He picked me up and spun me around in the kitchen, laughing and shouting, "We did it, Mom!" We actually did it. I was so proud I could barely breathe. My son, the first in our family to go to a 4-year university. I took a photo of him holding that letter, his smile so wide and genuine, and I put it on my desk at school. I showed it to everyone. "That's my Tyler," I'd say. He's gonna do amazing things. His first year of college went well. He'd come home on weekends sometimes, raid the fridge, tell me about his classes and his roommate. He seemed happy, if little stressed about the workload. I'd make his favorite meals, meatloaf and mashed potatoes or my special lasagna, and we'd watch old movies together on the couch like we used to. Those weekends felt precious to me, like borrowed time before he fully grew up and away. But then something changed. It started small, so small I almost didn't notice. Tyler's visits became less frequent. When he did come home, he seemed distracted, always checking his phone. He'd barely touch his food. When I asked him questions about school, his answers got shorter. "It's fine, Mom. Everything's good. Don't worry about it." I told myself it was normal. He was growing up, becoming independent. College kids don't want to hang out with their mothers all the time. I should give him space, let him spread his wings. But there was something in his eyes, a heaviness I couldn't quite place. He looked tired all the time, shadows under his eyes that made him seem older than 20. Then the tone of his voice changed. It wasn't just distance, it was coldness. One Sunday morning, I made pancakes like always, arranged the chocolate chips into a smiley face on his plate. He looked at it and said, "Mom, I'm not a kid anymore. Can you stop treating me like one?" The words stung, but I laughed it off. "Sorry, honey. Old habits." He didn't laugh with me. He just ate in silence, scrolling through his phone, and left an hour later without saying goodbye. The visit stopped almost entirely after that. Thanksgiving came, and he texted me the day before to say he was staying at school. "Too much work, can't make it home." My heart sank, but I tried to be understanding. I spent Thanksgiving alone, staring at a table set for two, one seat empty. Christmas was worse. He did come home, but he was like a stranger. He barely looked at me. When I tried to hug him, his body went rigid. He spent the entire visit in his old bedroom with the door closed. I could hear him on the phone, his voice low and tense, but when I asked if everything was okay, he snapped at me. "Why do you always have to know everything? Can't I have any privacy?" I stepped back, shocked. "Tyler, I'm just concerned." "Well, don't be. I'm fine. Just leave me alone." I left him alone, but I cried myself to sleep that night. What had I done wrong? Where had I lost him? The cruel comments became more frequent. He started saying things that cut deep, things I never thought I'd hear from my sweet boy. "You're suffocating me. I can't breathe in this house. You've built your whole life around me, and it's pathetic." That last one nearly broke me. I was in the kitchen washing dishes when he said it, and I had to grip the counter to steady myself. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped a plate. It shattered on the floor, and Tyler just walked away without helping me clean it up. I picked up the pieces alone, crying over the sink, wondering when my son had started to hate me. I tried talking to him, really talking. I sat him down one evening when he was home for a brief visit and asked him directly, "Tyler, please tell me what's wrong. Did I do something? Are you angry with me about something?" He wouldn't look at me. His jaw was clenched, his hands balled into fists. "There's nothing wrong, Mom. I'm just trying to live my own life and you won't let me." "But I am letting you—" "No, you're not." He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "You're always calling, always texting, always wanting to know where I am and what I'm doing. It's like you can't stand that I have a life outside of you." I was stunned. I didn't call that often. Maybe once every few days, just to check in. Was that too much? "Tyler, I'm your mother. I love you. I just want to make sure you're okay." "Well, I'd be a lot more okay if you'd back off." His voice was cold, so cold. "I'm 20 years old. I don't need a mother hovering over me like I'm still a child. He left that night, and I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. I became obsessed with figuring out what had changed. I replayed every conversation, every interaction, searching for the moment I'd pushed him away. Had I been too clingy, too involved? Should I have given him more independence earlier? I talked to other teachers at school who had college-aged kids, asking them if this was normal. They assured me it was just a phase, that he'd come back around eventually. But it didn't feel like a phase. It felt like I was losing him completely. I started to suspect maybe there was a girlfriend. Maybe some girl at college was turning him against me, filling his head with ideas about overbearing mothers. I imagined her whispering in his ear, "Your mom is so controlling. You need to cut ties." It was easier to blame a hypothetical girl than to accept that maybe Tyler just didn't want me in his life anymore, or maybe it was stress. College was expensive, even with my savings and his part-time job. Maybe he was struggling financially and didn't want to tell me. Maybe he was failing classes and felt ashamed. I offered to help so many times. "Tyler, if you need money, just tell me. If you're having trouble with classes, we can get you a tutor." But he just shut me down. "I don't need your help, Mom. I'm handling it." The arguments got worse. Every phone call ended with him hanging up on me. Every text I sent was either ignored or answered with single words. "Fine. Whatever. Busy." On his 21st birthday, I drove 2 hours to his university to surprise him with a homemade cake, his favorite, chocolate with vanilla frosting. I'd spent all morning baking it, decorating it with care. When I showed up at his apartment, he answered the door and his face went pale. "What are you doing here?" "It's your birthday, sweetheart. I wanted to celebrate with you." I held up the cake, smiling, hoping this would break through the wall between us. He didn't smile back. "Mom, you can't just show up unannounced. This is my space." "I know, I just thought you thought wrong." He took the cake from my hands and set it on a table inside. "You need to leave. Now." "Tyler, please." "Mom, I mean it. Go." He closed the door in my face. I stood there in the hallway for a full minute, staring at that closed door, waiting for it to open again, waiting for him to say he was sorry, that he didn't mean it. But the door stayed closed. I drove home in tears, pulled over twice because I couldn't see the road through my crying. What had I done to deserve this? How had my loving, kind son turned into someone who could treat me with such contempt? The months dragged on. Tyler stopped coming home entirely. He wouldn't answer my calls. He blocked my number at one point, and I had to use my school phone just to get through to him. When he finally picked up, his voice was flat. "What do you want?" "I want my son back," I whispered. "I want to know what I did wrong so I can fix it." There was a long silence, then, "You can't fix this, Mom. Just let me go." The line went dead. I became a shell of myself. At school, I went through the motions, taught my classes, graded papers, smiled at my students. But inside, I was hollow. The other teachers noticed. My friend Jennifer, who taught English next door, pulled me aside one day. "Brianna, honey, what's going on? You look exhausted." I broke down in her classroom, told her everything. She hugged me while I sobbed into her shoulder. "Give him time," she said. "Sometimes kids go through stuff we don't understand. He'll come back to you." But I didn't believe her. How could I, when every interaction with Tyler felt like another nail in the coffin of our relationship? Christmas Eve arrived, cold and bleak. I was home alone, trying to muster up the energy to decorate the tree, when my front door opened. Tyler walked in with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. My heart leaped. Maybe he'd come home for the holidays after all. Maybe this was the turning point. "Tyler, oh sweetheart, I'm so glad you're..." I'm not staying, Mom. I just came to get the rest of my stuff. The hope died in my chest. What? I'm moving out. Permanently. I got an apartment closer to campus and I won't be coming back here. But, but, this is your home? No, it's not. Not anymore. His voice was robotic, emotionless. I need you to respect my boundaries. That means no more surprise visits, no more constant calls, no more showing up at my apartment. I felt like I was drowning. Tyler, please, can we just talk about this? Whatever I did, I'm sorry. Please don't shut me out. He finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes made my blood run cold. There was pain there, deep and raw, but also something else. Determination, maybe, or resignation. I'm not shutting you out, Mom. I'm living my own life now, and that life doesn't include you. The words hung in the air between us like poison. I reached for him, but he stepped back, avoiding my touch. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, he said quietly. He went to his old bedroom and started packing. I followed him, standing in the doorway, watching him throw clothes and books into boxes. His movements were mechanical, efficient. He wouldn't look at me. Tyler, you're scaring me. Did something happen? Are you in some kind of trouble? No. One word. Clipped and final. Then why are you doing this? Why are you treating me like I'm a stranger? He paused, his hand hovering over a framed photo on his dresser. The two of us at his high school graduation, both smiling, his arm around my shoulders. He stared at it for a long moment, and I thought I saw his hand tremble. But then he put it face down in the box and continued packing. Because I need to, he said. That's all you need to know. He was done in less than an hour. I watched him carry boxes to his car, making trip after trip. I wanted to help, to do something, anything, but my legs felt like concrete. When he came back for the final box, I grabbed his arm. Tyler, please, I'm begging you, don't do this. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it together. We've always been a team, you and me. Don't throw that away. He looked down at my hand on his arm, and for just a second I thought I saw his resolve crack. His eyes glistened, his jaw tightened. But then he pulled away, and the wall came back up. Goodbye, Mom. He walked out the door. I heard his car start, heard the engine fade into the distance. And then I was alone in my empty house, surrounded by Tyler's childhood drawings, still hanging on the walls, mocking me with their bright colors and innocent joy. I collapsed on the couch and cried for hours. It was Christmas Eve, and my son had just told me he was cutting me out of his life. I had no one to call, nowhere to go. The house felt enormous and suffocating all at once. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about everything, analyzing every moment, trying to understand where it all went wrong. Was it when I helped him with his college applications? Should I have let him do it alone? Was it the surprise birthday visit? Should I have asked first? Was I too involved, too present, too much of a mother? By morning, I'd convinced myself it was entirely my fault. I'd smothered him. I'd made him my entire world, and he'd suffocated under the weight of my love. The guilt was crushing. Christmas Day was a blur. I didn't cook. I didn't decorate. I just sat in my living room, staring at nothing, feeling the absence of my son like a physical wound. The days after were worse. I went back to work after winter break, but I was barely present. My students would ask questions, and I'd forget what they were asking halfway through my response. I stopped grading papers on time. I stopped caring about the things that used to matter. Jennifer kept checking on me. Brianna, you need to take care of yourself. Have you eaten today? I couldn't remember. Food didn't seem important anymore. You should talk to someone, she pressed. A therapist, maybe. This isn't healthy. But what would I say to a therapist? That my son hated me and I deserved it? That I'd ruined the one good thing in my life by loving him too much? Weeks passed. February arrived with freezing rain and gray skies that matched my mood. I'd stopped trying to contact Tyler. What was the point? He'd made it clear he didn't want me in his life. The kindest thing I could do was respect his wishes, even if it killed me. I moved through my days like a ghost. Wake up, go to work, come home, stare at the walls, sleep, repeat. I stopped hanging student artwork in my classroom. I couldn't bear to look at it, couldn't bear the reminder of Tyler's little hands covered in paint, his excited voice showing me his latest creation. One morning, I almost didn't get out of bed. What was the point? I had no one. I'd poured 20 years of my life into raising my son, and he wanted nothing to do with me. I'd sacrificed everything, and for what? But habit won out. I dragged myself up, got dressed, went through the motions. It was a Wednesday, February 10th. The date is burned into my memory because it's the day everything changed. I came home from school exhausted, drained in a way that had nothing to do with teaching. I dropped my bag by the door, kicked off my shoes, and walked toward the kitchen to make tea, my nightly ritual, the one thing that still brought a small measure of comfort. And that's when I saw it, a white envelope lying in the center of my kitchen table. My name written on the front in Tyler's handwriting. My heart stopped. I stared at it like it might disappear if I blinked. How did it get here? When had he been in my house? I hadn't heard anyone come in. The envelope sat there, pristine and ominous, and I was suddenly terrified to open it. What if it was a formal goodbye? What if it was a letter telling me he never wanted to hear from me again, putting it in writing so there could be no misunderstanding? What if this was the final nail, the ultimate rejection? My hands shook as I picked it up. It was thick, several pages folded inside. I turned it over, saw that it was sealed. He'd taken the time to seal it properly, like this was important, official. I sat down at the table, the same table where we'd eaten Sunday pancakes, where I'd helped him with homework, where we'd laughed and talked about his dreams. I stared at the envelope for a long time, building up the courage to open it. Finally, I slid my finger under the flap and tore it open. I pulled out, 3 pages, handwritten, Tyler's familiar scrawl filling every line. My vision blurred with tears before I even started reading, but I blinked them away and forced myself to focus on the words. Dear Mom, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I couldn't face you while you read this. I'm too much of a coward for that, but you deserve to know the truth, even if it destroys me to tell you. Mom, I need you to understand something. I never hated you. Not for one single second. Every cruel word I said, every time I pushed you away, every cold shoulder and harsh rejection, none of it was real. It was all an act, and it's been killing me inside. I know that doesn't make sense. I know you're confused and hurt. And God, Mom, I'm so sorry for that. You didn't deserve any of it. You're the best mother anyone could ask for, and I've treated you like you're nothing. But I had to. I had to make you believe I didn't care about you anymore, because if I didn't, he would have destroyed you. I stopped reading. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. He? Who was he talking about? I kept reading, my hands trembling so badly the pages rustled. 2 years ago, he came back. Dad. Derek. Whatever you want to call him, the man who abandoned us showed up at my apartment one night, and my whole world fell apart. He said he'd been watching us. He knew I was in college, knew you were still teaching at the high school. He knew everything about our lives, and that made my skin crawl. But then he told me why he came back, and Mom, I've never been so scared in my life. He had documents, photos, text messages, all fake, but they looked real. He'd fabricated evidence that you'd been involved in an inappropriate relationship with a student, a 17-year-old boy from your class 5 years ago. The texts looked like they came from your phone number. The photos were edited, but convincing. He even had a fake witness statement from someone claiming they'd seen you and this student together outside of school. Mom, I knew it was all lies. I knew you would never, ever do something like that. You're the most ethical, honorable person I know. But that didn't matter. He told me if I didn't cooperate with him, he'd send everything to the school board, to the local news, to the police. He said your career would be over. Your reputation would be destroyed. You'd lose your teaching license, your job, everything you'd worked for. Even if you eventually proved it was fake, the damage would be done. You know how these things work. The accusation alone would ruin you. I didn't know what to do. I was 19 years old, and this man, this stranger who was supposed to be my father, was threatening to destroy the only person who ever truly loved me. He said he needed money, a lot of money. He'd gotten himself into debt with some dangerous people, and he needed it cleared, or he'd send the evidence to everyone. I gave him everything I had. My savings, the money you'd put aside for my textbooks, everything. It wasn't enough. So I got a job, then a second job, then a third. I've been working every spare hour I have, barely sleeping, barely eating, just trying to scrape together enough money to keep him quiet, but it was never enough. There was always more he needed. Just another 1,000, Tyler, and I'll leave you alone. Just one more payment, and this will all be over. It never ended. I realized he'd never stop. He'd bleed me dry, and then he'd probably release the evidence anyway, just for fun. That's when he changed the terms. He said the money wasn't enough anymore. He wanted me to cut you off completely. He said if we stayed close, if you knew what was happening, you might figure out a way to stop him. He wanted to isolate me, to make sure I had no support system, no one to turn to. And he wanted to hurt you. He said it with a smile, Mom. He said, let's see how the perfect mother handles being rejected by her precious son. So I did what he asked. I started pushing you away. I said horrible things I didn't mean. I watched your face break every time I was cruel to you. And it destroyed me. Do you remember when you brought me that birthday cake? When I closed the door in your face? I sat on the floor and cried for an hour after you left. I wanted so badly to run after you, to hug you, and tell you I was sorry, that I loved you more than anything in the world. But I couldn't. If he found out I'd shown you any affection, he'd release the evidence. Every harsh word was torture. Every time I saw you cry, and yes, Mom, I could see you were crying even when you tried to hide it, I hated myself more. I'd lie awake at night, sick with guilt, wishing I could tell you the truth, but I was so scared. I was terrified that if I told you, you'd try to fight him, and he'd release everything just to prove he could. I know I should have come to you. I know we could have faced this together, like we faced everything else. But I was 19 when this started, and I was so afraid. And as time went on, it got harder and harder to tell you. How do you explain 2 years of cruelty? How do you take back the things I said to you? The truth is, I can't keep doing this. I can't afford to keep paying him. I've maxed out credit cards. I'm failing classes because I'm working so much. I haven't slept a full night in months. And I can't keep hurting you? I'd rather he release the evidence than see the pain in your eyes one more time. So, I'm leaving. I'm moving out so you don't have to watch me destroy myself. I'm done playing his game. Whatever happens next, happens. If he releases those lies, we'll deal with it. You're strong, Mom. You're the strongest person I know. You'll survive this, even if your reputation takes a hit. And once you know the truth, maybe you can fight back in ways I couldn't. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to tell you sooner. I'm sorry for every moment of pain I caused you. I'm sorry for saying I didn't need you, because the truth is, Mom, I've needed you every single day. I've missed our Sunday pancakes. I've missed your terrible jokes. I've missed the way you hum when you paint. I've missed everything about you, and pushing you away has been the hardest thing I've ever done. You didn't do anything wrong. Please believe that. You are a perfect mother. You sacrificed everything for me, and all I've done is throw it back in your face. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know the truth. His name is Derek Jameson. He's been staying at a motel on Route 9, the one with the red roof near the old diner. This letter is evidence of his blackmail. If you want to go to the police, you have my full support. I should have gone to them 2 years ago. I have copies of some of his text messages on my phone. Threats, demands for money, all of it. I'll testify to whatever you need. I love you, Mom. I've loved you every single day, even when I was pretending not to. You're my hero. You always have been. I'm so sorry. Tyler. The letter slipped from my hands and fluttered to the floor. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was caving in. I pressed my hands to my mouth and sobbed, deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere primal and raw. Tyler didn't hate me. He never hated me. He'd been protecting me. My beautiful, selfless boy had been protecting me, and it had cost him everything. His savings, his education, his health, our relationship. He'd sacrificed it all to shield me from a monster's lies. And I'd thought he was cruel. I'd thought I'd failed him as a mother. I'd spent 2 years drowning in guilt and self-blame, never knowing that every harsh word had been destroying him too. Derek, that bastard had come back after 17 years of absence and weaponized our love against us. He'd found the one thing Tyler cared about more than anything, me, and used it to torture him, to torture both of us. The rage hit me like a physical force. I stood up so fast my chair fell over backward. My hands were shaking, but not from fear anymore. From fury. How dare he? How dare he come back into our lives and try to destroy us? How dare he hurt my son, manipulate him, threaten him? I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and dialed Tyler's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. "Pick up, baby. Please pick up," I whispered. On the 4th ring, he answered. His voice was hoarse, broken. "Mom? Tyler." I could barely get his name out through my tears. I read it. I read the letter. There was a long silence, and then I heard him sob. My strong, brave boy was crying, and it shattered me all over again. "I'm so sorry," he choked out. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. I should have—" "Stop," I said firmly, wiping my eyes. "Don't you dare apologize to me. You have nothing to be sorry for. Do you hear me? Nothing. You are protecting me. You are being brave and selfless, and My voice broke. "Tyler, I thought you hated me. I thought I'd lost you." "Never," he said, his voice raw with emotion. "Mom, I could never hate you. You're everything to me. You always have been." "Where are you right now?" "I'm at my apartment. It's not much. Just a basement room in a house near campus. I couldn't afford anything better because you are giving all your money to that monster." The anger surged through me again. Tyler, how bad is it? Are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself? He was quiet for a moment. I'm okay, Mom. Tyler. I've been better. I'm working 3 jobs, so I don't have a lot of time for meals. And I had to drop 2 of my classes this semester because I couldn't keep up with the work schedule. But I'm okay, I promise. He was lying. I could hear it in his voice. My son was working himself into the ground, probably malnourished and exhausted, and I hadn't known. I hadn't been able to help him because he'd been too busy protecting me. I'm coming to get you, I said. Mom, no, you don't have to. Tyler, James, don't even try to argue with me. I'm coming to get you right now. Pack a bag. You're coming home. But what about Derek? I said the name like poison. Let me worry about Derek. You've carried this burden alone for 2 years. That ends today. We're in this together now, the way we should have been from the beginning. Mom, if he releases those documents, then we'll fight it. Tyler, those documents are fake. The truth is on our side. Yes, it might be messy and painful, but we'll get through it. I'm not afraid of him anymore. And I meant it. The fear I'd felt reading the letter had transformed into something else, a fierce protective rage and an ironclad determination. What I'm afraid of is letting you suffer for 1 more day. I heard him crying again, but this time it sounded different, like relief, like he'd been holding his breath for 2 years and could finally exhale. I've missed you so much, he whispered. I've missed you too, baby. So much. But that's over now. I'm on my way. I hung up and grabbed my keys. The 2-hour drive to his university felt like the longest journey of my life, but also the shortest. My mind was racing, planning, strategizing. First, I'd bring Tyler home, then I'd call a lawyer, then we'd go to the police with the letter, the text messages, everything. Derek thought he could destroy us. He thought our love was a weakness he could exploit. But he was wrong. Our love was our strength. It always had been. When I pulled up to the address Tyler had given me, my heart broke all over again. The house was run down, paint peeling, the front yard overgrown with weeds. The basement entrance was around the side, down a set of cracked concrete steps. This was where my son had been living, while he sacrificed everything to protect me. I knocked on the door, and Tyler opened it immediately. He looked terrible, thinner than I'd ever seen him, dark circles under his eyes, his clothes hanging off his frame. But when he saw me, his face crumpled, and he fell into my arms. We stood there in that dingy doorway, holding each other and crying. I ran my hands through his hair like I used to when he was little, whispering, "It's okay, baby. I've got you. You're safe now. I've got you. I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry, Mom." Shh. No more apologies. We're going to fix this. Together. I helped him pack his things, which didn't take long because he barely had anything. The apartment was smaller than my classroom, with a twin mattress on the floor, a hot plate, and a mini fridge. No proper furniture, no decorations. He'd been living like this for months, working himself to exhaustion in this concrete box, all to protect me. The drive home was quiet. Tyler fell asleep in the passenger seat almost immediately, his head resting against the window. I glanced over at him every few minutes, still hardly believing he was really there. My son, my beautiful, self-sacrificing son, who had loved me so much. He had been willing to let me think he hated me. When we got home, I made him take a hot shower while I cooked dinner. Real food, not the ramen and canned soup he'd probably been living on. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans. Comfort food. When he came downstairs in clean clothes, his hair damp, he looked younger, more like the Tyler I remembered. We ate in silence at first. He was starving. I could tell by the way he devoured his food, but trying not to show it. After his second helping, he finally spoke. "What happens now?" I set down my fork and looked him in the eye. "Now, we fight back. Tomorrow morning, we're calling a lawyer, a good one. We're going to take your letter, those text messages, any evidence you have, and we're going to the police. Derek isn't going to get away with this. But what if he... Tyler, listen to me. Those documents are fabricated. The school board knows me, my principal knows me. I've been teaching there for over 20 years. If Derek tries to release that garbage, yes, there might be an investigation. It might be uncomfortable. But the truth will come out. Fake text messages can be traced. Edited photos can be analyzed. We have actual evidence of his blackmail. He's the one who's going to go down, not us." Tyler nodded slowly, and I saw hope flickering in his eyes for the first time in years. "I should have told you sooner," he said quietly. "You were 19 years old and terrified. You made the choice you thought would protect me. I can't be angry at you for that." I reached across the table and took his hand. "But from now on, we face things together. No more secrets. No more protecting each other by pushing each other away. Deal?" "Deal." The next morning, I called in sick to work, something I almost never did. Jennifer understood when I sent her a brief text. "Family emergency. I'll explain everything soon." Then Tyler and I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started researching lawyers. We found one who specialized in extortion cases, a woman named Patricia Hollis with a sharp reputation and even sharper reviews. When I called her office and explained the situation, she agreed to see us that afternoon. Patricia was in her 50s, with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun and eyes that missed nothing. She listened to our story without interrupting, taking notes as Tyler showed her the text messages from Derek. Demands for money? Threats? Explicit descriptions of what he'd do if Tyler didn't comply. When Tyler finished, Patricia leaned back in her chair and steepled her fingers. "This is textbook extortion. Mr. Jameson has made a serious mistake documenting his threats in writing. With this letter, these text messages, and your testimony, we have a very strong case." "What about the fake documents?" I asked. If he releases them, we'll have them analyzed immediately. Metadata on digital photos can be examined. Text message records can be subpoenaed from your phone carrier to prove they're fabricated. And honestly, Mrs. Hayes, the fact that he used these documents as leverage for blackmail, rather than reporting them to authorities, tells me he knows they won't hold up to scrutiny. A real victim would have gone to the police. A blackmailer keeps evidence as ammunition. Relief washed over me. So, what do? We go to the police. Today. We file a formal complaint with all of this evidence. They'll investigate, and if they find probable cause, which they will, they'll arrest him. The district attorney will take it from there. 3 hours later, we were sitting in the police station. Tyler gave his statement, his voice steady despite his nervousness. I provided additional context. The detective handling our case, a woman named Rodriguez, listened with a deepening frown. "This is your son's father?" she asked me. "Biologically, yes, but he abandoned us when Tyler was 3. He's been out of our lives for 17 years. Detective Rodriguez shook her head. "And he comes back just to extort his own kid. I've seen a lot in this job, but this..." She turned to Tyler. "You did the right thing coming forward. I know it wasn't easy." We left the station with the understanding that they'd pick up Derek within 24 hours. Patricia assured us she'd stay in close contact with the police and keep us updated. That night, Tyler and I stayed up late talking. Really talking, for the first time in 2 years. He told me about the nightmares He'd had the constant anxiety, the guilt that ate at him every time he saw my number on his phone. I told him about the loneliness, the self-blame, the mornings I could barely get out of bed. I kept all your old drawings, I said. They're still on the walls? I couldn't take them down, even when I thought you hated me. I'd look at them and remember when things were good, when you were my little boy who loved me. Tyler's eyes filled with tears. I never stopped being that boy, Mom. I just got lost for a while. You weren't lost, baby. You were exactly where you needed to be, protecting the people you love. That's who you are. That's who I raised you to be. We fell asleep on the couch that night, Tyler's head on my shoulder, like when he was small and we'd watch movies together. I stroked his hair and felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Peace. The next afternoon, Detective Rodriguez called. We picked him up. He's in custody, and he's been charged with extortion, attempted fraud, and harassment. His bail hearing is tomorrow. Did he say anything? Tyler asked when I relayed the information. Rodriguez said he tried to deny everything at first, but when they showed him your text messages and the letter, he realized he was caught. He's demanding a lawyer. Tyler nodded, and I saw his shoulders relax for the first time since I'd found him in that basement apartment. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal proceedings. Patricia was brilliant, building an airtight case against Derek. The prosecution brought in a digital forensics expert who tore apart Derek's fake documents. The metadata showed they'd been created just weeks before he'd approached Tyler, and the editing was sloppy once you knew what to look for. My principal called me one morning, concerned. Someone had sent the school board an anonymous email with the fabricated evidence. My heart stopped when she told me, but she quickly followed up. Brianna, we know this is fake. We've already consulted with our legal team and reported it to the police. This man is trying to intimidate you into dropping charges. It won't work. The support from my colleagues was overwhelming. Jennifer organized a group of teachers to write character statements for the court. My students, current and former, created a petition affirming my character. Over 300 people signed it. Derek's lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the DA wasn't interested. He extorted a college student for 2 years and attempted to destroy an innocent woman's career. We're taking this to trial. The trial itself was painful. I had to sit in that courtroom and listen to Derek's lawyer try to paint Tyler as a troubled young man with a grudge. But Tyler's testimony was powerful and unshakable. He spoke clearly about the threats, the manipulation, the isolation Derek had forced upon him. When it was my turn to testify, I looked directly at Derek. He couldn't meet my eyes. I told the court about our family, about the sacrifices I'd made to raise Tyler alone, about the 2 years of agony when I thought my son hated me. And I told them about the letter, how it had shattered me and saved me in the same moment. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Derek was sentenced to 5 years in prison. As they led him away in handcuffs, I felt no satisfaction, no sense of victory. I just felt tired and grateful it was over. Tyler moved back home while he recovered, physically and emotionally. He dropped out of school for the semester, but we agreed he'd re-enroll in the fall. For now, he needed to heal. He needed regular meals, full nights of sleep, and time to rebuild the parts of himself that Derek had tried to destroy. We started seeing a family therapist together. Dr. Chen helped us process the trauma, the guilt, the complicated emotions that came with surviving something like this. Tyler struggled with nightmares for months. I struggled with the guilt of not having known, not having protected him sooner. You couldn't have known, Dr. Chen told me in one session. He was doing everything possible to hide it from you. That's what abusers do. They isolate their victims and make them feel like they have no choice. But I'm his mother. I should have seen Brianna, Tyler interrupted, reaching for my hand. You would have seen if I'd let you. But I didn't. I chose to hide it because I thought I was protecting you. We both need to forgive ourselves for the choices we made out of love. He was right. We both needed to heal. Spring came, and with it, small joys returned to our lives. We started having Sunday pancakes again. Tyler insisted on making them this time, and they were burnt and lumpy. But I ate every bite and told him they were perfect. We planted tomatoes in the backyard garden. We watched old movies on the couch, his head on my shoulder, both of us finally able to relax. His appetite returned. The shadows under his eyes faded. He started smiling again. Real smiles, not the strained fake ones from before. He got a part-time job at an art supply store, something low stress that he actually enjoyed. He even started writing music again, something he hadn't done in years. One evening in late April, we were sitting on the back porch, watching the sunset. Tyler was strumming his guitar softly, working on a new melody. I was sketching in my notebook, something I'd started doing again after years of creative drought. Mom, he said quietly. Yeah, baby? Thank you. I looked up from my sketch. For what? For not giving up on me. For fighting for us. For... He paused, searching for words. For being exactly who you've always been. Even when I was pushing you away, even when it hurt, you never stopped loving me. You never stopped being my mom. Tears pricked my eyes. Tyler, I could never stop loving you. Not in a million years. You're my son. You're my whole heart. He set down his guitar and moved closer, resting his head on my shoulder like he used to when he was small. We sat there in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from orange to pink to purple. In June, we had a backyard barbecue, our first real party in years. Jennifer came with her family, some of my colleagues from school, a few of Tyler's friends from before. Everything fell apart. We grilled burgers and hot dogs, played music, laughed. It felt like coming back to life. I watched Tyler joking with his friends, saw him smile, that genuine smile I'd missed so much, and felt something shift in my chest. We'd survived. We'd been broken, but we'd healed, together. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Tyler helped me clean up. We worked side by side, washing dishes and putting away leftover food, falling into the comfortable rhythm we'd always had. I'm thinking about going back to school in the fall, he said casually. Maybe changing my major? I've been thinking about music therapy, helping people the way Dr. Chen helped us. Pride swelled in my chest. That sounds perfect, Tyler. You'd be amazing at that. Yeah? He looked at me hopefully, and I saw traces of the little boy he used to be, seeking my approval and encouragement. Absolutely. You've been through something terrible, and you came out the other side with more compassion and strength than most people develop in a lifetime. You'd be an incredible therapist. He grinned, and we finished cleaning in comfortable silence. Before bed, I went to my room and opened my desk drawer. Inside was Tyler's letter, carefully preserved in a clear protective sleeve. I'd kept it even though it was evidence of the worst period of our lives, because it was also evidence of the greatest love, a son's sacrifice for his mother, and the truth that saved us both. I traced the words with my finger. I love you, Mom. I've loved you every single day, even when I was pretending not to. Those words had shattered my world and rebuilt it in the same moment. They'd shown me that love doesn't always look the way we expect. Sometimes it's loud and obvious, Sunday pancakes and birthday parties and long hugs. But sometimes it's quiet and hidden, suffering in silence to protect the ones we cherish most. I thought about all those months I'd spent believing Tyler hated me. The pain had been unbearable, but now I understood. He'd carried twice that pain, enduring not just Derek's abuse, but also my heartbreak, watching me suffer and being unable to comfort me. That kind of love is rare. That kind of selflessness is extraordinary. And I'd raised a son capable of it. I put the letter back in the drawer and went to check on Tyler before bed. His door was slightly open, and I could see him lying in his old bed, finally sleeping peacefully. No nightmares tonight, just rest. I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching him breathe, and whispered, "I love you too, baby. Always have, always will." As I walked back to my room, I thought about everything we'd been through, the betrayal, the pain, the healing. And I thought about what I'd learned from it all. We spend so much time looking for grand gestures and obvious declarations. But sometimes the deepest love is quiet. Sometimes it speaks through sacrifice and silence. Sometimes it suffers alone because it can't bear to see you suffer. I thought I'd lost my son, but the truth was he'd never left. He'd been there all along, loving me so fiercely, he was willing to break both our hearts to keep me safe. That's a love worth fighting for. That's a love worth surviving for. And now, finally, it's a love we get to live in, openly, honestly, without fear or pretense. Just a mother and her son healing together, one Sunday, pancake at a time. Love doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it suffers in silence, waiting for the truth to finally set it free.